an ongoing story, a thorn in the side of this president that's been persisting for years. Barack Obama and Guantanamo. Guess again, French President François Hollande and Fessenheim, the old clunker of a nuclear plant. It produces just 1.5% of France's electricity. Built in 1977, it should never have celebrated its 40th birthday. François Hollande, the candidate, promised voters and his Green Party allies he'd shut it down before the end of his term if elected.
Une seule centrale fermera. Une. Fessenheim. On me dit, mais pourquoi Fessenheim?
Why? The plant's critics all say the same thing. It's too old. It's built on a seismic fault line in a heavily populated area. It's also a flood risk at 8 meters under the level of the Rhine River nearby, in addition to being located directly above the biggest groundwater reservoir in Europe. It's dangerous, and the latest incident took place in April 2014. Critics say Fessenheim is a ticking time bomb.
Dies ist eines der ältesten Kraftwerke Europas. Sie müssen endlich abgeschaltet werden. Atomkraftwerke in Europa, jetzt reicht's.
The Germans and the Swiss have been demanding for years that the plant close as soon as possible. But France's nuclear watchdog says Fessenheim is one of the country's safest plants. Why? Well, let's take a look at the math. France has decided the maximum amount of nuclear energy it's allowed to produce is 63.2 gigawatts. That's close to 80% of its overall energy production. The goal is to consume 40% of renewable energy by 2030. But at the same time, the French government is building a new reactor in Flamanville on the English Channel. The new reactor will feature the latest EPR technology with the capacity to produce a lot, 1,650 megawatts. In short, to stay within legal production levels, some nuclear plants will have to close. When Flamanville is up and running, Fessenheim shuts down. But there's a hitch. Flamanville is nowhere near ready. Slated for 2017, it'll open closer to 2018 or 2019 at best. In the meantime, Fessenheim stays operational. Add to the fact that it takes about 5 years from the decision to shut down a plant to beginning to taking it apart. 2021 sounds far more realistic. The process of decommissioning an old nuclear plant is also complicated from a technical point of view. On average, it takes 30 to 60 years, with radioactive waste that needs to be stored safely for the next few centuries. Only a handful of the world's nuclear plants have ever been fully decommissioned, including one in Maine in the United States. Germany has been cleaning its Lubmin plant for over 20 years now. France is in the process of dismantling 10 reactors, but has never decommissioned a high-energy plant, so the real cost of such an operation is unknown. Estimations vary widely from 3 to 500 million euros for just one reactor. So France's state-owned energy company EDF is asking for government money, and negotiations are ongoing. After the state offered 80 million euros, a staggeringly low number for debt-ridden EDF, the two parties have settled on 400 million for now. But there's yet another unknown in this complex equation, the outcome of France's 2017 presidential race. Though if right-wing candidate François Hollande wins, the plant's fate is clear.
C'est un gâchis incroyable que d'arrêter des centrales qui ont été payées par les Français et qui peuvent continuer à fonctionner.
Fessenheim, on ferme pas.
On ne ferme pas Fessenheim.
To close or not to close an aging nuclear plant, that is still the question, and it's sure to be a hot-button issue in the months to come.
Fessenheim isn't being shut down because in reality we don't want to. The problem is that state-owned energy company EDF doesn't want to begin the process because its goal is to push the lifespan of nuclear plants in France to 50 or even 60 years. So if one closes after 40 years, it's a bad precedent for all the others. It represents a struggle between what I call the nuclear state and the rest of society. No matter what our citizens believe, no matter what our neighbours say, we're not doing it because the nuclear state is stronger than the rest. We could have made decommissioning nuclear power plants a French know-how. There are 518 nuclear reactors around the world, and we own 10% of them, which means that we could have been the world champion in decommissioning them. If we're not capable of decommissioning them at home, it would be absurd to have a foreign country do it. You know, we will continue to do what we're doing. We will continue to invest billions in this sector. In the meantime, we have a renewable energy sector that's lagging behind. Wind turbines are cheap now. Their electricity costs 6 to 7 eurocents per kilowatt hour. In France, nuclear energy, before you count all the investments it needs, costs 5 eurocents, so almost the same as wind energy. Solar power costs 8 eurocents in France, but in countries that get more sun, it costs just 3 cents. And the price, for example, of the new generation EPR plant at Hinkley Point or the one at Flamanville is around 12 cents. And that's not cost effective. No one in the private sector is investing in nuclear energy anymore. One day it'll have to end. All we can hope for is that it doesn't end with an accident.
So will it close or won't it? All we know for sure is Fessenheim will remain at the heart of the battle over nuclear energy and a key issue in the French presidential election in 2017.